everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Nick, I do words, I am an avid writer, reader, and a therapist in the state of California, and this is my channel to talk books. I am today doing the Book Talk newbie tag. I've seen this going around. I think it's been going around for a really long time, but I've been like getting connected with new folks. So I thought it might be fun to introduce myself a little bit and get to talking about who I am, why I started this channel, what the vibe is, and if I am a person that you think you'd like to follow. This tag is 10 questions long, and I think I'm just going to jump right into it because a lot of what I would say in an intro is going to be addressed pretty much right off the bat. The first question is why I started a booktube channel. So I have been on Book Talk on TikTok for a little over a year at Nick Does Words, and while I have really enjoyed my time over there and I have a lot of fun making videos and talking books and getting to know people, I found that I was struggling quite a bit, first with the very fickle nature of the algorithm. I know YouTube isn't necessarily better, but you can at least find people's videos a little bit more easily than things just sort of flying past you. And also because I wanted more time and space to get into topics that I was really interested in, and Book Talk doesn't like reviews. Book Talk doesn't like long form videos. Anything over a minute, people are skipping it. That's not always true, but I found it's true a lot of the time, and I just wanted to take up a little bit more space. So YouTube seemed like a really great option for that. I also have been watching BookTube for quite a while. I really like doing that, and it's an aspiration I've had for a long time, so I finally got up the courage to start filming some stuff, giving it a try, learning some of the editing, and it's been really fun so far. What are some fun and unique things that I can bring to BookTube is the second question, and the one that comes to mind immediately is my background in psychology. So I talk a lot about mental health and wellness all the time in my life. I cannot shut up about it. I just think it's fascinating and it impacts all of us so much all the time. When I'm reading books, I'm often reading with that lens, and so I'm excited to bring that into some discussions on here, to talk about mental health and how mental health affects us as readers, how it affects us as writers, and how we can continuously use a mental health lens and often a disability justice lens in relation to that to consume media. Additionally, I'm someone who really loves the community aspect of reading, so I'm always like doing stuff in that regard. I love book clubs, I love community events, I love readathons, so I'm probably going to be hosting quite a few things. You can stay tuned for that. Even if they're really little like friend things, I think it'll be a lot of fun. What am I most excited about for this new channel? I think I'm most excited to try one of those videos that people make where it's like, here's my reading for a week, and it's kind of a reading-y vlog situation. That is like such a low bar of stuff to be excited about, but it's something I'm a little nervous of. I think the way that I would want to put it together and edit it and try and have this vision in my head, am I filming the right stuff? Do I have my angles right? All that I think would be like fun and interesting. Similarly, vlogs like going places, of like come bookstore shopping with me or come to like a book festival with me or something. I don't usually have someone else next to me while I'm doing those things to film me, so I either need to get very comfortable filming myself in public, or no, that's the thing, I guess, or invite a friend who would be comfortable filming me. Those are my options. So yeah, that, and then obviously making friends and connecting with new people. It's my favorite thing in the world to like get to know new people and connect with them in some way, so that's the other thing I'm really stoked about. Why do I love reading? What a big question. I love reading because I love story. So when I do therapy with folks, one of the lenses that I use quite a lot is narrative therapy, and the idea that the way that we make sense of the world is through story. We make sense of other people, of our place in things, of the way that things work. All of that happens because we're telling ourselves stories about why they happen that way. And sometimes that is not great, which is why I use it as a therapy modality. But I think also sometimes it's a thing that can make life feel really beautiful and really powerful and really moving. I don't know, narrative and story is the thing that can make stuff feel worth it. And so I love exploring that in fiction, in nonfiction, and reading other people's stories and getting to see their lenses. Reading somebody else's story that they came up with and they wrote also feels like such an intimate thing and a way to get to know another person and step into their shoes. I love reading about people that are very different from me. I love reading books by people who are very different from me, and I also love feeling understood by someone who gets the thing that I thought no one else would ever get. Those are the reasons, I think. I read a little bit for escapism, but it's definitely not my primary reason. One of my goals for the last few years has been pretty definitively to try to build a life I don't feel like I need to escape from, which is way easier said than done, but it's something that I keep top of mind. When I consider my hobbies, when I consider reading, I want to be really present as much as I can be and make connections with my own life and those of other people. The book or series that got me into reading has a couple of different answers. When I was super young, I don't even know, dude, Little Women is one of the first books I remember reading. I was super young when I read that one for the first time, maybe too young. I also really enjoyed the Bartimeus Trilogy, is that what it's called? I'll find it and I'll put them here. Those books I really loved when I was younger. I read Aragon when I was super young. I loved that one. I read Twilight. Like, I read all the really popular books and a lot of less popular books. I basically cleared out the YA section at my local library when I was young. Lately, I went through a bit of a slump. In adulthood, I think as a lot of us do. Once I got to college, it was just really hard to keep up with reading. It wasn't really until the end of 2021 that I picked up the hobby again with like a really strong passion. And the books that did that for me were Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, which I talked about in my last video of 10 books that define my taste, and The Charm Offensive, which got a mention, by Alison Cochran. I'll also include Iron Widow in that list. All of those books are really, really fast paced. I read them over the span of like a week alongside some other books as well, and they reminded me why I love this hobby so much. It does really feel like every book since then has been reinforcing and reinforcing why I got into reading and why I want to stay in reading. That's not true. Not every single book. Some of them were not good. But the ones that were good and that I liked absolutely did that for me. Questions to ask my favorite booktubers. I have so many. I'm actually in the process of starting a podcast, and that is part of what it is, of talking to creatives and people who make stuff, whether that's like video content or writers or artists. And one of the questions I have all the time is just how you cope with being online so much. I, on TikTok, had a video go uber viral, like 1.5 million views. It was flying all over the place. I ended up just locking it down because I didn't want to deal with it, honestly. And the question that I have for people in that situation is like, how do you cope, man? Because people have a lot of things to say online. I always try to remember that anyone that I'm talking to online could be 14 years old, but it's still a tricky line to walk sometimes when someone is like hurting you in some way. So that's one question I have. A much lighter-hearted question is just, I want to know everything about everybody's setup all the time. If you also make videos and you're watching this, please share a little bit about that in the comments. Like, what do you use to light your settings? What camera do you use? What editing software? I'm always wondering those things. In terms of challenges of starting a booktube channel, a challenge with starting literally any social media is that the growth is going to be slow and it might feel a little bit discouraging at first. So that's something that I'm definitely thinking about. It's on my mind. I am not going to blow up overnight. I just want to be steady and consistent, and I know that right now I have a lot of time to be able to do that. I have a period right now where I'm not really working. I'm in an in-between period in my life. I have a job that's going to start, but it can't quite start yet. So I am using that time to the best of my ability to stockpile videos and to get excited about stuff and to get myself organized and optimize my workflow. But I know time crunch is going to get hard in the future, so that is for sure a challenge that I am anticipating. Question 8 is, when did you start reading? Dude, I don't know, I was super young. I feel like I've been reading for as long as I can remember, and before I was reading, I was being read to. I come from a family of readers, and it's super normalized in my household and in my life and my community. I don't have an answer for that question. As young as I can remember, as young as I was able to read, I was reading. Question 9 is, where do you read? I read usually at home. I can actually show you right now my reading setup. I have my little chair that I sit at in my corner. We're next to my bookshelf and my radiator. It's super cozy. It's super nice. You'll probably see me making some videos over in that corner at some point or another. I read in bed. I read over at my desk. I also do like to read out and about. I take books to the park fairly frequently. That's wonderful. I like to take books to the beach. I take books to my local coffee shop. I almost always have a book on me, or at least I have something on my phone that I'm reading or listening to, an audiobook. I don't listen to a ton of audiobooks, but if I have a long drive, I definitely will do that, or if I'm commuting quite a lot. At a job over the summer that I was commuting to 4 or 5 times a week, and I got through some audiobooks that way as well, but I mostly just like to listen when I'm driving. For my job, when I'm doing telehealth with clients, I have headphones on all the time for like their privacy and also just for audio quality. So I don't like to have headphones on otherwise when I don't have to, because I just don't find it super comfortable. That's why audiobooks are not so much for me. And the last question is, what kind of books do you like to read? It might be easier to answer with what kinds of books I don't like to read, because I feel like I have a very wide range of things that I love. I do like sci-fi, I like fantasy, I like romance. I mostly like to read queer romance, or romance that has another major plot alongside of just the romance. I like to read literary fiction quite a lot. I want to get more into short stories. I've liked reading a lot of short stories, but I don't own really any collections, and I'd like to read more of those. I like poetry. I do like contemporary fiction. I don't tend to read a lot of like family sagas. That's not really my style. And I don't really read thrillers or horror. it can't really be helped. I've had some bad experiences with thrillers that I just hated. So maybe I've just been burned too many times. If there's a thriller that you love that I think I might pick up and enjoy, please let me know. But I don't know the last time I read a thriller and liked it, so it's a personal taste thing. Oh my gosh, that brings us to the end of the tag. I feel like that was so fast. I hope you learned some stuff about me. Please, like I said, feel free to answer any of the questions that I pose to you all over the video in the comments, or any of these questions, feel free to answer them yourself. If you liked what I was doing here, like, subscribe, comment, ring the little bell, all that good stuff, and stay tuned because there is more to come as ever. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.